And thanks for staying with us on this May 1st.
Welcome to Newsmax Now. John Bachman, Miranda Khan. Of course, we're following the story. 6 Baltimore police officers have now been charged in the death of Freddie Gray. We just heard from the mayor of Baltimore a few moments ago, and we'll have more on the situation in Baltimore in just a second. But first, we do want to turn our attention to another big story happening today, and that is involving New Jersey and a former ally of Governor Chris Christie. He has now pleaded guilty to charges that stem from the George Washington Bridge closure scandal. That guy's name is David Wildstein. His lawyer now says that Christie did in fact know about those lane closures. Still, Christie insists he knew nothing about those closures beforehand. Again, David Wildstein, you see that picture right there, pleaded guilty today to 2 counts of conspiracy. Lanes at the George Washington Bridge were shut down in the fall of 2013 in what some are calling an act of political retribution. And now evidence released also shows the closures were done on the first day of school in that area for maximum effect.
Baltimore's police union is disputing the charges now against the 6 police officers in the death of Freddie Gray. A union official says the officers were diligent during that arrest. President Obama weighs in.
Justice needs to be served. All the evidence needs to be presented. Those individuals who are charged obviously are also entitled to due process.
The Obama administration will provide local police departments with $20 million to help them purchase body cameras. Last week, Baltimore's mayor said she would launch a new body camera pilot program. Let's take now a look at some of those charges against those police officers. According to the Baltimore Sun, you can see the charges right there against 3 of the officers involved. They include second-degree murder and manslaughter. Now, here's the other half of the charges against the Baltimore police officers. There you have it: false imprisonment, misconduct in office, and so on. Baltimore's State Attorney Marilyn Mosby spoke a little earlier today. Let's listen to what she had to say.
Mr. Gray suffered a severe and critical neck injury as a result of being handcuffed, shackled by his feet, and unrestrained inside of the BPD wagon.
Marilyn Mosby says Freddie Gray's arrest was illegal and the police officers had no probable cause to detain him. Protests have spread from Baltimore all throughout the country. This was a scene last night in Philadelphia. Hundreds of protesters gathered in the streets, some squaring off with Philly police officers, but it was mostly a peaceful night. Police say they only had to make 3 or 4 arrests.
And on Capitol Hill, the House has now approved a new budget deal. That non-binding GOP budget plan would balance the budget in 9 years with trillions of dollars in spending cuts. It also could repeal Obamacare. The plan goes to the Senate for a full vote next week. The real work, though, begins on binding legislation on those budgets and also to cut or raise taxes. That will be the debate.
And an overhaul to the Patriot Act is gaining steam right now in Congress. A bill that passed the House Judiciary Committee yesterday would put new limits on the bulk collection of phone records revealed by the Edward Snowden leaks. An identical bill is working its way right now through the Senate. The bill would also extend parts of the Patriot Act that expired a month until December of 2019.
We now know Barack Obama's presidential library will be in Chicago. The Windy City beat out proposals by New York and Hawaii to host that facility. Meanwhile, the commander-in-chief drew some laughs yesterday when he was interrupted by a 6th grader, perhaps for talking too much. That 6th grader told the president he'd heard enough from him. Meantime, Missouri Governor Jay Nixon vetoes legislation that would reduce welfare benefits for families, but Republican state lawmakers plan to overrule that veto. The new laws would reduce benefits for low-income families from 5 years down to 3 years and 9 months. Supporters say it will encourage parents to be more independent, and it will also save the state money, but opponents worry that it will ultimately harm needy children.
Ford expands its recall for cars with faulty door latches. The recall covers more than 500,000 Ford Fusions, Lincoln MKZs, and Ford Fiestas. The car giant says a broken spring keeps the doors from latching properly, which can be dangerous if the doors bounce open. Ford dealers will replace the latches for free. In the Utah desert, a nonprofit group prepares for what life would be like on Mars. Take a look. The nonprofit organization called the Mars Society is trying to increase exploration of the red planet. NASA already has 2 unmanned rovers on Mars. The most recent one landed about 3 years ago. NASA plans to send humans to Mars by 2030.
And German authorities canceled today's May Day bicycle race due to security concerns. The race organizers say they believe police did the right thing by calling off this race. It comes after the arrest of a Turkish couple with ties to Islamic extremism. A raid of a home found a pipe bomb, an assault rifle, and 100 rounds of ammo. Police believe the couple planned a Boston Marathon-style attack. And rescue workers in Nepal continue to search now for survivors, but hope is dwindling nearly a week after that devastating earthquake. The death toll is now at more than 6,200 people, but the Prime Minister says it's going to get even higher than that. Hospitals are struggling to keep up with the injured. Many local residents say they are in dire need of food, water, and shelter. So, tough situation, guys. They're still in Nepal. We'll keep an eye on that, but we also want to bring in J.D. Hayworth now and taking a look at Newsmax Prime coming up tonight at 8 p.m. J.D., great story you've been working on. Not great in what's happening here, but a very interesting story. Something we're going to continue
that deserves coverage, right, J.D.?
Miranda, John, it is one of those stories where those watching us can actually play a part in bringing a successful outcome to the story. Last night, we featured our friend Johnny Moore, our go-to guy when it comes to chronicling the persecution of Christians worldwide, but especially in the Middle East. Johnny came on last night, and amidst his report, he made mention of a nun, Sister Diana. She's been called the Mother Teresa of the Mideast. She was forced to flee the Mosul area to go to Erbil. Hundreds of thousands of people under the edict of convert to Islam or die. She moved. She is a professor at a university, really, in essence, a theologian. She was supposed to come to the United States next week, but our State Department has said no. A consular officer by the name of Christopher Patch said to her face that he believed if she came to the United States, she would come to stay, in essence calling the nun a liar. And here's the intriguing part of the story. For the upcoming hearings on Capitol Hill, Yazidis are coming, Muslims are coming, but the one person whose visa was denied was the nun. Curiouser and curiouser, said Alice.
So what is
you have a chance to get in and help with this.
What is the official line from the State Department as to why they're not going to let this woman in?
Well, again, it has to do, the term they use at the State Department, IDP, internally displaced person. The irony is, of course, her hometown where she was living was taken over by ISIS. She moves to Erbil. She has a contract to teach at the university there for the upcoming academic year, and yet the State Department says, no. That doesn't count.
Wouldn't they give her refugee status?
Well, if they gave her refugee status, she could come stay. She doesn't even want that. She just wants to come for the visa to testify to Congress and to tell the truth about Christian persecution. Right. But somebody at the State Department doesn't want to hear it.
And JD, she has a very specialized set of skills. It's not like she's an unskilled laborer trying to come to this country. A lot of this sounds like one of those high-skilled visas that a lot of lawmakers in Washington talk so highly of.
Well, H-1B visas for Silicon Valley and sadly to take jobs from Americans. If she had that kind of skill, maybe they'd let her in. But because she's a nun talking about Christian persecution, for some reason, this State Department is not going to let her in. Frank Wolf, my old congressional colleague, will be here tonight. We'll also have more with Johnny Moore tonight. And you should understand this. This is not a typical Republican-Democrat right versus left question. Frank Wolf wrote a letter of recommendation to grant her a visa. So did California Democratic Congresswoman Anna Eshoo. What is going on at the State Department, and what can we do as Americans, Newsmax viewers, to make a difference and persuade the State Department to reverse their refusal of a visa? That's something we'll be talking about tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern and again at 8 p.m. Pacific as Newsmax Prime airs both those times here on Newsmax TV.
And we look forward to seeing it. JD, thanks so much for joining us on Newsmax Now. Always good to have you.
It is always good to be here with you because you all got so much going on. Like the name says, it's now.
That's right.
What's happening?
Well, JD, we wanted to talk a little bit, too, about the budget in Congress. We only have 30 seconds, so
I'll make it quick.
We can't get into it, but we do want to have you back next week to talk about why the GOP thinks they can defund Obamacare with something called reconciliation.
Real simple. Reconciliation in the Senate, you only need 51 votes instead of 60. That's how they believe they can make a change. And look, I even explained it before next week.
So you want it now? You got it now.
Now, that's right.
All right, but coming up,
first time in a while they've had some agreement on this budget.
Some headlines will help you decide whether or not they're real or fake. Coming up next on Newsmax Now.